Started. Again, this is the VizEx Edit webinar. The agenda for our presentation today is going to be, we've given you a brief introduction. We're going to go through the housekeeping rules that we'll use for this webinar. Well, I'll do a quick company overview, and then we'll get right into the slide presentation with the bulk of the webinar today being a live demo, and we'll summarize for you and then have a Q&A period. So the housekeeping rules we use, all attendees will be muted during the duration of the webinar. If you should experience any problems though, just go to your chat window and tell us what's going on there. And questions during the webinar can be posted in the question panel and question box window of the panel. And then we're going to have one interactive poll that we invite you to participate in. It's private, but the results will publish the results live so you can all see. So yeah, that's just how we do it. At appropriate time, we'll flash up a poll. You just click on your answer, and the poll today is, what illustration software do you use? Larsen Software Technology, we're based in Houston, Texas. We were founded in 1984, and we've been CGM experts for over 30 years. We develop and market graphic software tools based on open standards, with promoting CGM usage with a free CGM and TIFF viewer, desktop viewer, for viewing CGMs. We're a member of the CGM Open Foundation that maintains the CGM standard. Our products are used in technical publishing by aerospace, defense, and heavy manufacturing. And our products are used there to create, maintain, and deploy technical graphics. So now onto the body of our presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Manick to do the remainder of our webinar.
Thank you, Don, and good morning everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening. As Don's just taught you through some introductions about the company, we want to focus particularly today on the VizEx Edit product, as Don mentioned. So we want to try and describe some of the benefits and obviously demonstrate how VizEx Edit might fit into your technical graphic production process. We're going to focus on primary areas of technical graphic production. The 3 or 4 scenarios I see are kind of origination, revision, enhancement, and publishing. And those are the ones we'll focus on today. So we'll communicate hopefully some benefits that you'll see from using the software, and it could be complementary to something that you already have, or an alternative illustration solution replacing what you might have already. So just to kind of set the scene, the generation and revision of technical graphics, well, I think it's a significant component of the whole publications process, and it requires efficiency, as in any area of the process, and from the illustrator and writer, particularly in this instance. So say writer as well, because writers are becoming more kind of dual purpose in the way that they actually create their technical writing, but also get involved with the illustration process as well. So the process is very dependent on the data, obviously, being source or legacy, or data that you pull from an archive from a previous project. So our software really needs to be able to handle all this type of data. And also the published format could also differ based on the deployment method. So I would say probably primarily still we have print today and electronic delivery via an IETM, electronic technical manual. And all these factors result that you need some software or pieces of software that is flexible to use a flexible tool set, I would like to call it. So the software itself, as I said, it's a fundamental part of the whole production process, unless you don't create illustrations, that is. So it could be a single piece of software or a combination of solutions, which could be CAD, it could be illustration, it could be general graphics software. But it certainly requires flexibility and functionality, and needs to be able to have really the following abilities. It needs to be able to import and convert, needs to be able to edit the graphics, enhance the illustrations, and we'll talk about what that means in a bit, and also publish them in a format that's either compliant with the standard or with the software or IETM you're taking it into. So at this point, I'm just going to we're going to run the first poll. So I'm going to hand you back to Don. Well, Don was going to run the poll for us, and hopefully you're going to see that in a second. Okay, and we've got the results in already. I think Don's going to publish those results for you, and I see them on the screen now. So predominantly we've got Isodraw users on here, Corel, and 25% other. So obviously we don't know. We have a limitation where we run polls that we can only put a certain amount of information in there, which is 5. So apologies if we didn't put your software in there. So not surprised that Autotroll wasn't there. It's pretty specialized. Bit surprised no Adobe Illustrator users on today. So predominantly Isodraw. So if you just want to close the poll out, thanks Don. Once we've closed it out, when we should see the actual, there we go. We'll see the slides again. So thanks for participating in that. So these are the 4 scenarios I really see for the production of graphics. So I thought this might just show graphically how I see the production going through to the publishing. It's not really a process diagram, it's just really to show you the different components. So origination, so this could be from CAD, it could be from Scratch, or it might be traced over a photograph. So you're going to need good conversion tools and illustration tools to achieve that. Revision, mainly we're going to need to edit the illustration. So good illustration tools will help us do that. Enhancement, I spoke about this earlier. What is enhancement? I see enhancement really adding of data to the illustration, and these could be annotations or callouts depending where you come from, different names, same thing, and also hotspot information or metadata. So this is another key thing now, especially if you're delivering electronically. So there we need tools that are automated, but also very specific in the way that they work. Publishing is obviously very, very important. We need to get the files into a format that we can then publish. So this includes, CGM is what we're talking about today, PDF, TIFF, and these need to be compliant and obviously capable of going into the software that we're using, our publishing software. So what does VizEx Edit bring to the party? What are the main functions? Well, it's certainly got comprehensive import capabilities. We can source data from CAD and also legacy, raster and vectors, so we support both those particular formats. It's a native CGM editor, which is unique. I don't know of anything other software out there that's actually native CGM. Usually they're using a native format, something proprietary, such as probably Isodraw, where you've got the IDR or .iso format, which is not going to be opened in any other software apart from Isodraw. It needs to have drawing and editing tools, and certainly VizEx Edit has that, and also support an isometric grid, particularly important for illustration purposes. Also needs to be hotspotting, so that VizEx provides that automatic and manual hotspotting functions. And it also has a call out tool, which gives you auto numbering. So I believe VizEx Edit's a good fit with your existing processes. It's designed for illustrators and writers. It's not an overcomplicated piece of software. And it serves these different workstation types, and we'll go through in the demonstration, the live demo, data exchange, editing the graphic, creating callouts, hotspotting, and also creating that finished published file that complies to the different specifications. The next set of slides really are going to be useful if you then download these later on, because the demo will be on a recording, but if you just want to show people some of the functionality, then these slides should be useful. So as a data exchange workstation, these are the formats that it supports. So CAD files, graphic files, and raster files. I won't go through all of them, but you'll see it's pretty comprehensive. And then when we're saving files, we can obviously do CGM, SVG, TIFF, and JPEG. So we are obviously we're focused on CGM, but we also see that SVG is becoming an important format as well, especially when delivering on the web. Editing graphics is obviously key. So we're able to do that. We can change the graphic, change the text attributes. We have the isometric grid, which has snap to capability. And we can also do various things by snapping to elements and endpoints and so forth. And in the demonstration, we'll show you more of that. Callouts, this is when I was talking about enhancements. I see this as an enhancement to the illustration. You want to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we have a callout tool in the VizEx Edit, which means you can go around and automatically annotate the parts, do that sequentially. And we have different options where you can change the shape of the callout. You could have a dog leg line. It had no shape. Lots of different types you can use here. You could also have a halo, which just pulls it away from the illustration. And then hotspotting, very key for if you're creating IETMs. We've got auto hotspot tools in VizEx Edit. We have a unique kind of tree view, which more kind of leans towards like an XML type world editing, that we have a tree view for the graphic. We can show the hotspots. We can test them by taking them into the viewer. And we can also manually hotspot as well. If we just go in, if we don't have any auto hotspot capability, then we can just manually hotspot if we need to. And finally, we have the compliance. So this we support all the CGM profiles, obviously S1000D, iSpec 2200, and the petrochemical industry, the oil and gas, with the PIP format. So all these are supported within VizEx Edit. So you've got a totally compliant tool for creating your published files to go to print or to the IETM. So now we go to the demo. So I'm just going to pull down and start VizEx Edit. So this is a live demo. It's not canned. So just to warn you, this is the interface itself. What I want to try and do, just go through some of the interface details to begin with, and then we'll move on to bringing some files in. So I've got a certain order that I want the demo to go through. So it's going to really be data exchange, editing files, creating callouts, and then finally publishing the file. So we have some kind of logical order that we're working through. So I'm just going to create a new file. You can see we've got a blank page and it's got a grid in the background there. So just looking at the interface to begin with, pretty standard. We've got lots of shortcut keys up here. We've got this tree view, which you'll see populate as we open files, as we go through the demo. We have some tear off or undot windows down here, or dialog boxes. These can be docked again. So we've got a nice flexible way of actually working with the software. So we can have these obviously docked or undocked, however we feel comfortable. On the right, we've got the format window, which gives us easy access to common things like fills, lines, and callouts and text, so we can quickly get to those. We can also auto hide this as well. So it will just move to one side just to increase our screen size if we need it. For the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to leave it visible. So that's quickly the interface. You'll see more of it as we go through. And obviously these various tools which I'll explain over on the right hand side here as we go through as well. So the first part, we're going to look at data exchange. So CGM is what VizEx says it's about, so we should be able to open a CGM file. So let's just open one up. If you're into the S1000D spec, then you'll know there's the famous bike that they use as an example. And I've got the bike here as a CGM file, so this is direct from the spec or from the files you download from s1000d.org, and I'm just going to open that. The grid doesn't really apply to this, so I'm just going to make the grid invisible. So this is just done here, so we can turn the grid properties off and on. You'll see immediately on the left-hand side that all the hotspots is now populated in the tree view because this particular file has been hotspotted. I can also get some properties on the file as well. So this is quite interesting that because the nature of CGM, it can contain some metafile information. So I can see the profile that was used of the CGM, and I can also see it was created by Isodraw version 5. So quite an old file. We'll look into that in a few minutes, but it's I think it's actually 2006 it gives the date when it was created. So CGM can contain metadata, and we can look at that. So it has got hotspots. I've got a little tool up here. We get the tooltips as well, so it does help us understand what that particular function is. So we can see them all here highlighted in red. So these are all the hotspots for this particular illustration, and I can just toggle that off. I'm just going to zoom into this particular area here, and you'll see that the graphic can be edited. So I can move these lines around, I can change them, I can cut them. So there's no issue with that. The saddle is quite an interesting area because of the fact that I think this was a really old CGM file to begin with, because certainly CGM issue 4 actually supports curves, Bezier curves, whereas you can see this is made of little straight lines. So that would be quite difficult to change. So you might want to use the Bezier tool if you needed to change the shape of that particular component in this instance. But it just shows you we can examine the file and we could still edit it in here. So for this particular part of the demo, I'm more interested in the hotspots. So if I click on the number 8, you can see it highlights it in the tree view. If I right click on the file, then I can modify the hotspot properties. So in this case here, I might want to actually put a screen tip in. So this screen tip would then appear in our IETM when we see it delivered to the customer. And we can also create URLs if there's a link to something else. So we've got actually the link here, but also the viewer behavior. So there's a lot we can do in here when we're taking it into the IETM. You'll notice now I've added that detail that it's added to the properties down here. So I can easily change that again if I need to. And if there was properties already on the file, they would appear as well. So CGM, that was our first format, and I want to look at DWG. So let's just open DWG file. So obviously a CAD format, usually AutoCAD. And I just click on this and open. You'll notice that before I open it, I have some options what I want to do with the file. I think to begin with, what I'm going to do is just open it and see what I get. And the grid is on, so I'm going to turn that off. And you can see I'm getting a lot of data here, and a lot of data from an illustration point of view I don't really need. This particular file has like different languages in, which are on different layers. So, and I've got the legend down here with the company and so forth. So all data really that I don't really need. Now I could go around and just try and select it and move it away, but that could get a bit laborious. So what I could do is go back, reopen it, and this time I can begin to turn off some of the layers. I can also make it monochrome as well, because there was colors on there, so I can do that before I bring it in. Also, I can adjust the scale factor. So you're probably aware with CAD sometimes they're 1:1, so the files can be very big, so we could actually put a scale factor in before I actually bring it in. I can also begin to optimize or simplify the file, so try and make things into arcs and curves that might be able to edit more easily. Now I know the construct of this particular file and these layers, so I know by turning these off, I'm going to take away a lot of the extraneous data that I don't need. So you do need some knowledge about the file. But once you've got one, you've figured that one out, then the rest should be the same construct. So let's say OK. Now bring it in. So I've still got a few bits of data I don't really need, but that's pretty easy just for me to take that away now. So very dependent on how the file has been created. So I'm just going to delete those. And I'm just going to zoom in on the text. Now it might be that I want this text hotspotted, and I'm not too unhappy with the annotations themselves, but so there's no hotspots on these. As you can see in the tree view, there's nothing populated. So at this point, I have my auto hotspotter, which will look at the text attributes and automatically apply a hotspot to them. So all I need to do is click on the button. Hotspots are created. You can see when I click on that side, it highlights them, and I can show the hotspots again. So very quickly, I've hotspotted a file that's come from a DWG file. Obviously, there's only 5 on here, but there could have been a lot more, which would have made my life a lot easier. Here, I'm just going to do best fit and take this back down. Now, again, we've got a lot of screen area I don't need. So we have a cropping tool which allows us to actually remove the extraneous data. So I can just go over here and really take the drawing size down to a more manageable size. This is again when you've got CAD data, the part of the illustration you need is just in one area, then I can make that page size a lot smaller, a lot quicker. The next format we're going to look at is a raster format, which is TIFF. So you can see I'm leaving these files up because it tabs them. It's an easy way of navigating backwards and forwards. So let's open that TIFF file. Just need to select TIFF here. So this could have been a scanned illustration, something that's been done in the past, or it could have been the only output I could get from the system that I'm working with. Again, you can see we've got this time a more typical kind of flat plan of an illustration, an engineering drawing. But again, we still might want to use this in our manual and hotspot this. So in this case, being raster, there is no text. It's just pixels. But the hotspotter we have within VizEx Edit allows us to hotspot raster files. So it has an OCR capability here. So I can set a confidence factor. So I'm going to put this pretty high. I'm going to say I'm quite confident this is a good file. If it's a lower resolution or the scan's dirty in some way, then you might want to actually decrease the factor or increase the factor. Also, I know that I want to actually annotate only the characters with two characters. So the software is intelligent to recognize that. So I'm going to put maximum of 2. So if there was 3, obviously we could increase that, or just 1. So I'm happy with those settings. And I'm going to go to my auto hotspot tool again. Okay, it's added all the hotspots down here, and I should be able to see them, which is a pretty good result. So the hotspot tool might not do it first time with the raster image. You might need to just kind of tweak it around with the different settings, but certainly that's going to save us a lot of time over doing that manually. Not that we can't do it manually. So if I zoom into an area here at the top, if we have no other choice, then I also have a manual hotspotting tool as well. So I can just draw over this area, click OK, and hotspot the detail in this case. So we have really 2 options. We can also hotspot, or we can still manually hotspot as well. So that's our TIFF file. Finally, I want to look at PDF. So let's choose PDF here. Actually, the option here is PDF and Adobe Illustrator. So it could be either or file. They're becoming one and the same thing as Adobe goes more to PDF as a way of interchanging files. And the advantage of that is also an open file format now as well, PDF. So let's open the bike. So this is just a bike again, but this time it's a PDF file. And you'll notice that it's this time no hotspots because it's come from the world where Adobe Illustrator doesn't really support hotspotting, or CGM for that matter. So if I want to apply hotspots, I can do the same thing I did earlier on. Because we've got a good kind of construct to this file, again, we've got text, it's going to be very easy to reapply the hotspots to that. You can see them all come in, and it's all done. So we can work with all those different file formats very easily. If we then want to save them as another file format, then we can just save as. And as you expect, we have CGM, but also SVG, Scalable Vector Graphic, and also raster formats as well, TIFF. So if you're publishing software you go into is limited, we still have the capability to go to other formats. So from there, what I want to move on is to the editing side. So I'm going to go back to our initial file that we opened. I'm just going to zoom in. Okay, you see the grid. You can see the grid in the background here, and here we can turn the grid. We can turn it off, or we can toggle between a flat grid and an isometric grid, and we can turn the snap to the grid off and on as well. So what I'm going to do is just take our line tool. So this is going to be quite a quick demo of some of the drawing capabilities. You can see it snapping to the grid here. So IsoDrawer users out there might remind you of the software that you're using. So I'm just going to go around and we'll just draw some depth to this. So very quickly, just to one side. Let's complete that box. So then we have the ellipse, obviously, and we can draw from the center out. Draw ellipse. And if we want to add some more lines to this, then obviously we can do. So I'll just go back to my line tool. I'll just move this to one side, out of the way. And just go around. So you can see how it's easy for me to draw in the isometric. I can move lines around. I can obviously copy and paste things. Let's just draw this down. Now we're not trying to be IsoDraw. Obviously IsoDraw is a very specific piece of software, but if you need something to get drawings done quickly and edit the drawings that already exist, then this tool is perfectly capable. Okay, so just some of the drawing capabilities we had with the grid there. And now I'm going to open an existing CGM again. And let's just open this particular file. Switch our grid on. You'll see that it does go with the grid. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you that we can edit this file. So this file actually did originate in IsoDraw. It was a CGM file when it came through into VizEx Edit. So I'm just going to zoom in into the area here. And this particular part, I just need to make it, it's actually changed slightly. So I'm just going to just move it down the grid slightly. Let's just move it down here. Oops. We just selected it again, sorry. I think it's because I've got my snap to points on, so that's why it's jumping around a bit. Okay, that's great. So I just need to make this a bit longer, this particular part. So what I can do is just take the line here. If I select the line, what I can do is constrain it to the actual direction it's already going in this case with the grid. So I can just constrain this out. Just hold on. Let's do that again. So if you've got a line at any kind of compound angle, then we can constrain it. So you can see it's constraining to the grid there. Then just going to move this particular element out. We've got the snap to points on, and then let's just move this line back out just to extend it out. So, and then I'm just going to move this particular line back down the grid. So I've quickly done our edit that we need to do. Let's just make that best fit into the page again. And now I'm going to start annotating this illustration. So this is the enhancements I spoke to you about at the beginning of the presentation. How do I enhance this? By putting the hotspots on, and the callouts for that matter. So we have a specific callout tool. We can see that over here that we've got different attributes to the callout that we can set. And we also, if you noticed earlier on, if you were keen eyes, then you might have seen callout settings here as well. So I can set my next callout to be number 1. That's where we're going to start. I want it to be a circle. I want it to be a dot. And we want to put a halo on the callout as well. So I'm pretty happy with all those. Oh, we need a straight line. Let's click OK. Just double check our settings here. And also, so we've got straight line and circle. So let's now say we want it to be a dot. That's great. And we've also got our halo set. So we don't particularly need our grid active at this point. In fact, we don't really need our grid at all. So let's just turn that off and just draw our first callout. So as I said, it's going to go sequentially. So when I stop clicking, it's just going to obviously add the number and in the style that I want. Now, if I want to change the style, then let's just say I want a rectangle. Then I can do that as part of the flow here. If I want no circle, if I want none or nothing in there, if that's my house style, then I can do that as well. And if I've got a dog leg and I want a rectangle, then I can also do that as well. Okay, so one thing I didn't actually show at that point is that I could also put this on a layer. So if I just go to the root of the tree here, then what I can do is make a new layer. We can call that callout. Click OK, and that's going to add it to our tree view here. So the hotspots have been done, but they've been done on this particular layer, so that was my mistake. So the hotspots now are on there. We can still see them, they've been done, and we can still highlight them. Let's just show them here. Let's just end that, sorry. You can see the hotspot's been applied, and we could have easily put them on another layer just to separate them out from our illustration. Okay, I think that's just one more item we would want to show here, and that's the fact that we can add this tooltip. So number 2, I think, is the one that I chose. So let's just turn the hotspot highlights off. So number 2, which is then highlighted down here, I can modify that, hopefully. So let's just do a refresh. It doesn't want to help me at the moment. Okay, let's just do that. Just save this, because I'm going to have to save it in the end anyway to do the preview. Okay, so let's just modify that. We want to put our washer on here as our tooltip. Click OK. That's great. And now we've got the option to preview the file. So we now want to see what it might look like in our IETM world. It's not going to show all the text, it's just going to show the graphical view. So I should be able to launch that. And now we're in Internet Explorer, and there's our tooltip washer. So great way of just testing the file, testing the hotspots and so forth. You can see as move over, we get the hand view, and we're in the VizEx view at the moment, the Larsen viewer. So we've got all the functions for zooming in and so forth. So the final part is compliance. So let's go to settings. And this is obviously key. If you're working in S1000D or commercial aerospace, then you need to trust that we're actually going out in the right format. So we have the web CGM profile, which is pretty broad if you want to go to the internet, but if you want to be specific to S1000D, then we have that profile ready to go. If you're doing ATA, we also have that profile ready to go as well. So immediately you can be compliant with those particular specifications. And I think probably most of the people on the call today require that. And it's not something you're going to find in the standard versions of Adobe Illustrator and Corel or standards graphics programs. So this is pretty important stuff if you're dealing with a project that requires compliance to the specifications. But as I said earlier, we've still got the ability to save as other formats. So we're not stuck in the world of specifications. We can still go out as different file formats as well for publishing. So at that point, I'm just going to end the presentation on VizEx View, and I'll just go back and we'll just summarize it using the slides. So in summary, there's different scenarios when you're producing technical graphics, and it's important that your software is capable of at least doing some of those scenarios, or else you're going to have to use a combination of products. The source of the data can be varied, and selecting the appropriate formats when you're inputting the data to get the best quality and outputting can be a challenge. So it's important that you select the best input data. Usually vector is going to give you the best results. So a lot of programs are capable of raster, but if there's a vector alternative, then please use it because it will give you the best quality when you go to publish the information and give you something easier to edit as well. So when you're outputting the file, the considerations are pretty obvious, but still worth thinking about is reuse and publishing. So this is where the benefit of CGM comes in, is that it can be used for both for editing. As you've seen, we can edit the file, but we can also publish the file to an IETM or to print. So we have the best of both worlds, and that means we can minimize configuration issues in that we're only managing one file instead of one instance of the file instead of multiple instances of the file. So VizEx Edit, in summary, enables you to handle varying source formats, repurpose the data, enhance it as we mentioned, and deliver the quality graphics that are required in the specifications that we work with, other publishing systems. So at that point, if there's any questions that have been raised, we'll be happy to answer them. If you don't have any at this time, then we will answer. You can always email Don and his colleague Bill after the presentation, and we'll try and answer those. So I'm just looking. I don't think we. Let's see if we have a question. I think we just have the one on CGM. So yes, we are compliant with all the different profiles of CGM. So there shouldn't be any issues working with any of your IETM technology, and also that Don and Bill are very happy to work with you and obviously test the files if they're going into your particular software application or publishing software. So with that, I'm just going to go to the closing information. So you can discover more information about Larsen at www.cgmlarsen.com. So please visit the website. All the details on all the products, so VizEx Edit is just one of them. There's going to be a link to a recording of the webinar sent. Usually goes out the day after, so it will be Thursday, tomorrow, depending where you are in the world. All the materials, the slides and so forth, will be published on slideshare.net by tomorrow. So if you want a copy of the slides, there'll be a link in the email along with a link to a recording of the webinar, as we just said. If you want news on about Larsen and some of the events we staged, then follow us on Twitter at cgmlarsens.com. That's the way we really get our news out nowadays. It's probably the most immediate and the best way of doing it. The next event is actually a collaboration with Data Conversion Laboratory, great name, which is dclab.com. We're doing a more of an educational webinar around converting and transforming technical graphics. So particularly focusing on that, not software, but really the formats we've spoke about today. And there's a link there. I'm not expecting you to write that down. But we'll put a link in the email as well, so you can register for that if you're interested. It's on November the 11th at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern US time. So with that, I'd just like to thank you all for attending today. As I said, if you've got any questions, there'll be an email going out where you can respond quite easily. So thanks for attending and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.